paint. This is just a picture that I took on my phone a couple of days ago. So first of all, I popped down some pencil so that I know where I'm going. Quite a nice scene, country lane, and you got plenty of trees and greenery. So let's start off. There's a little bit of a sky just in the top center. So I'm just going to pop in some clean water all across that little band. It does sort of start off with no sort of just a cloud cover, and there's just a little bit of blue sort of coming through, sort of like so. There's not too much blue, so maybe I'll just add a little bit more, just to get a nice effect on that. I do want it to sort of have a bit more towards the top of the painting. So there we go. That's pretty much the sky done. And then because there's quite a lot of sort of greenery in this scene, what I'm going to do, and there's a nice field, which is mostly, I'm using yellow ochre now. So this is the field sort of in the center of the scene. And because I've took it, I don't have a picture of this developed. So that's why I went in and did the pencil outline first, so that I know where I'm going. I can't refer to the reference as I'm painting. So let's see, hopefully I can get it from this bit of a loose sketch. I'm going to pop some of that yellow ochre in the trees. I'm going to have this sort of going through the scene. It's really nice warm yellow, and just lightly, because it's my first wash, just the light covering of the surface of the paper. And I think what I'll do, this is a nice little path, a little road going through the scene, and there's a few shadows going across. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to add my first colour, and this is the lightest colour of the path. I know it looks a little bit darker than I would like, but bearing in mind that watercolour does dry that little bit lighter once it dries. So I've got that in mind, so I'm not too fussed. I know this is going to be quite a light wash once it does dry. So that's what the plan is there. And I'm going to add a little bit of, let me just add a little bit more in the sky. There's these couple of nice little bands of sky popping through, and I'll just leave that to sort of dry, settle, and then once that's done, I mean, I am going to cover, there's quite a lot of green, there's trees and shrubbery. There's a couple of nice horses in this field, but I didn't get them on this picture. I think it was a different time actually that these horses were in the field. That was I think it was yesterday when I went walking. But yeah, I think I'm gonna. I think that's pretty much the first wash. I've left this tree line because this is quite dark. So I'm thinking once this dries a little bit, I'm thinking to just add a little tape to this, because I do want a straight line. I do want it to be quite accurate. So that's the only accurate part that I want in this painting. And you can see I'm using my tray again, just to get some of these nice greens now. You see that I'm mixing bits. This is sap green, and yellow ochre. Actually, this is Indian yellow. Quite nice, quite rich and vibrant. And I'm just going to pop some of this in the tree area. It's a nice shape coming down of the tree in this side. And it's mostly predominantly green, this painting, which I do like. And I am trying to improve with my trees, so this is a perfect excuse for me to get in and paint some greenery, some trees, that sort of thing. Let's move the camera just a little touch. Okay, so just going in, and I've got the lines down, so I sort of have an idea, but I've got the main structure of the painting down, but I will be, a lot of it's going to be guessing, a bit of guesswork, because I can't remember exactly. You know, when you come to painting and you paint from a reference, you want to sort of remember the things that are in that reference, but without anything to hand, it's it can be a little challenge. But I'm gonna have fun, and I know how to paint trees. It's not something that I'm the best at, but I'm learning, and I think I'm getting there. Just plenty of practice anyway. Practice making trees and mixing my greens and things, just to make these paintings and have fun mostly. And you can see this is run down, but I'm not fussed because there is lots of shrubbery and things coming down, and that'll be quite dark once this starts to dry. And I've got a few fence posts going, because there's horses in the field. I think this is sectioned off this area. So there is a few fences, and it's nice to add these because it leads your eye into the scene and it adds a lot of interest. So if you're thinking of painting and you've got, if you're painting a street scene or anything like that, and you've got street furniture, you know, bollards or power lines or anything like that, they can be quite nice. So I would add those just to give direction, so your eyes looking through the scene, and it can be quite a nice thing to do. I'm just going to grab a little bit of neutral tint now with that green, and just going to add some. I wouldn't normally go for the darks just yet, but I'm not planning on going back in this area, and there's a few trees coming into the scene from above. So I'm just going to add a few of those darks coming down. A few, might as well pop a few darks in here as well. Hopefully you can see that. There we go. Okay. So the paint's still wet on the paper. So while I'm adding this dark, you may notice it's bleeding into the green that's already there. And that does look quite nice. It gives quite a nice look. And I'm just going to grab that green and neutral tint and bring it down as well. So you can see all these things mixing now and blending, which I do like to do on the paper. It is nice. I do mix things on the palette, but then when I can, I do like to have these colours mix on the paper as well. You might be able to see how that looks. It does offer something a little bit different rather than mixing the paint on your palette. And I am a fan of doing this. It just... So if you do paint and you're not happy with your painting, just try and relax and just enjoy the painting. It should be it shouldn't be stressful, it should be stress-free. So hopefully that's what happens when you paint. That's the idea. Unless you're really stressing over a painting and you want it to be precise, that sort of thing, and that's not what I usually go for. There's nothing wrong with that. If that's what your preference is, then that's cool. But for me, I do like to paint a little bit looser every now and then. Every now and then I might want to challenge, and I might want to paint something realistic looking, and there's certainly nothing wrong with that. Each to their own, but I do find these looser paintings quite nice. You know, you do these paintings, it take half an hour, 40 minutes, something like that. A little bit longer for a live stream of a painting because it just is. I do usually have lots of breaks and you know, just have a step back while I wait for certain areas to finish drying so that I can add my next colour. And so they might take longer before I've finished, but I do have plenty of breaks while I'm doing that painting. So although I said it's a quick painting, it does take a little bit longer because I'm just going in and just trying to complete the painting in one sort of go. Let's have some of those leaves and foliage coming down. You got this really nice shape of a tree. So this is still, I'd say, the first wash. I know I've had a couple of colours to it, but it's not dried yet, and I guess that's one way in which I judge it being the first wash. It's not quite dried yet, the first lot of paint that I've put on. When this dries and I start adding more, then I presume I'm saying that's more likely my second wash. Just adding a little bit more sap green to that yellow ochre and just scruffing up. I mean, nothing's perfect in this scene, quite rustic and lots of things going on. So there is a darker tree here. It's coming up. Maybe I shouldn't have done this because I do want to put the tape, but never mind. I can do that anyway. Okay, a bit more water. Squeeze out my brush. Do a bit of blending. I will go in and add darks once this is settled and dried. That'll be quite nice. I think I'm gonna actually pull this green a bit further in. Have a little bit less of that path, if you know what I mean. So we're gonna do that. Okay, so I quite like that sky, and like I say, there is going to be some green coming. In fact, we'll do that now. Just a bit of sap green and a neutral tint. There's quite a dark bit of trees. This is further into the scene, and it does separate from this tree before us. So I'm gonna add a little bit of tape now. Any comments? No. Thanks for joining the live. If you're watching, please don't forget to hit that like. I would really appreciate that. So there we go, just a little bit of tape. I know it's quite, I should maybe get some thinner tape as well as this thick tape. This is good for the border, but when it comes to separating an area, maybe I should have a thinner, not as wide the tape, but there we go. Just gotta do what you gotta do with what you've got. And I'm switching to a smaller mop brush. You can see quite a nice smaller tip on this. Now this is quite dark in the distance, these trees, so it's going to be a lot of neutral tint. I'm going to add a little bit of yellow ochre to that and sap green. You can see the nice dark colour that I'm getting, and I do want this a fair bit darker. There's no rush. This is part, you know, this is an important part of the painting as well. Mixing your colours, your palette. It's all important as well. So I can paint. See what I mean? By adding the tape, I don't have to be careful. I'm not fussed about it coming down. In fact, you want to sort of paint onto the tape as well, so that you have a solid coverage. And then that just comes down and meets, well, it doesn't meet the foreground trees, but it comes down into that area. And there we go. Okay. So I'll just give that a couple of minutes, let that dry a little bit. And maybe while I've got this dark green, I can just go in and just add some of this. Remember, it's still wet. Let me bring the camera. There we go. Remember, it's still wet, so I'm getting a lot of this colour blending. It just melts into the green, this darker colour. And quite nice, quite nice. So if you want those more solid areas, you know, the lines, and you got to wait for these things to dry. So let me, just going to give that a few more seconds to dry. Please do hit that like, it really does help my channel. It just helps out with the algorithm to push this video out to more people. So I really do appreciate that. I'm going to add some of this dark. Well, I've got it mixed up. I'm going to just pop in. You see, I'm not popping it everywhere. I have left a little tiny bits of white of the paper. By the way, this is Fabriano Artistico, and I believe it's extra white. So it's got bleaching in the, when they make the paper, they put some sort of bleaching agent in the paper when it's being made. So you get this extra white, and it's brilliant for, if you've got plenty of highlights or you want some nice light, then it just gives you a few more tones lighter than usual. So quite nice to use. And I will go in and define this edge as well once this has dried a little bit. Okay. A bit more Payne's grey, sap green. It will make sense. I mean, you do go through these little messy stages, and it's not looking it's not looking too good. I suppose this is the messy stage right now, but as the painting progresses, as things dry and I can get those hard lines in, so you got the soft lines, which I'm sort of doing now. It's still wet, so everything that I do is sort of blending and mixing on the paper. Once that does dry, then I can get some more solid colour and solid lines, hard lines. And I think maybe it's ready to remove this tape. Let's see. let me know in the comments what you think. You can see there is a little bit come through the tape, but it's not the end of the world. Now I can go in. I'm just going to add more. This is a lovely yellow, golden sort of colour in the distant field. So let me try and put that in there while it's, I'm scared of disturbing that that edge of the dark colour, but quite nice. And what I'll do, I'll make that more green as I come down. I'm just going to inject a bit more green into it, and there we go. That's quite nice. Now I'm going to go quite a bit more green, so just a bit of sap. Well, more sap green to the yellow ochre, so it just swings to the green, more green. And I just want this white covering now, so you got a continuation of this colour. And I will go back in and sort of paint these trees and whatnot as I do so. So let me blend that. So yeah, that's looking okay. You can see the paper's buckled slightly, but it's not an issue. Not too fussed about that. I'm just going to go in, and I don't have any tissue. That's one big mistake if you like to paint. Just make sure you got some tissue so that you can blot out anything that you don't want on the painting. But let's see what. Okay, I think that's looking it's going the way I want, but it would be nice to get a few dry areas now, just so that I can continue. I think this side might be sort of dry in first, so I can hit that next. And I've also got this road running through, which I can add the colours now. You can see how it's, you know what, I'm not even turning the light on. Let me just pop this light up. There we go. Can't believe I did that. So you've got this road leading through the scene, and I think what I need to do, I've just noticed it goes quite a bit too far up. There we go. Just add that to the distance. That looks okay. So I think I'm going to go in with a different green now. So I want this to be, I'm going to bring some blue into the mix. This is French ultramarine, quite a nice blue. You could use any blue for this. Payne's grey, can you see that? Payne's grey, and then sap green. You can see the sort of green that I'm getting here is not, the light's not reflecting too much. And then I'm just gonna pop in. You see the different green now. Quite a nice colour. And then you can leave some of these little white areas as the light hits the tree. You got some light reflecting from the leaves. A bit smooth, sort of shiny leaves. I'm just going to leave them so that it looks quite nice. And just yep, there we go. So you can see that's added a fair bit of depth to the painting. And that's all you want to do. You want to look at these areas and you want to see where you can add these darker tones to get some depth. If you coloured it, if you covered it in one colour, it would be quite flat. And so you want to vary your mixes. You want some darks, you want some lights, you want some soft edges, you want some hard edges. All those things you got to think about when it comes to watercolour painting. just spotting in some little details here and there. So there's quite a lot going on when you look at trees. When there's a big cluster of trees, that sort of thing, there's quite a lot going on, and you could do quite a lot with that. You could spend a lot of time if you want. Like I said, if you do want those realistic sort of paintings, which there's nothing wrong with doing, then maybe this would take a little bit more time. But I'm happy just to give a semi sort of loose painting. And I know this area, these trees look quite melted. They're softened off because the paper was wet, but that looks quite nice. If you want to put a tree in front of that, it could be in the distance. So you got this really soft looking tree, and that looks quite nice, to be honest. So I'm not fussed about that at all. I think I do need to just, it's a bit too straight and perfect, this tree. So I'm just going to add, move the camera again, against the camera, and then just add these little bits of tree. And I've got these darker tones as well, which I'm adding, which are really nice. Nobody in the chat, just pop in, say hello. I would love to hear from you. Let me know where you're from, what sort of things you like to paint. That would be nice. And if you're watching this when it's just on my channel, please do drop me a like, give me a comment. I know a lot of people do share as well, which I'm really surprised about. I mean, sometimes I get as much as 30, 40 people sharing my videos with friends, and that's really nice too. So I would love to hear from you. Love to know your thoughts, and if you do want to subscribe, I have a playlist for beginners if you are a beginner. But I think we're all learning, we're all, trying to improve. And if there's some artist out there that you like the look of, then it can help. It can help with your painting. I do follow a few artists myself, it's nice to get some ideas as well. But if you do like this sort of loose painting, like I said, a lot of them are landscape paintings like this one. If you do want to learn more, then you can feel free to have a look into my channel. It would be really nice to have you on board with my community, which I'm building. Really nice people here on my channel. I've got some really, really nice people, and it makes things a lot more worthwhile doing these paintings, just to show you that you can paint, you can do these things, and I can help, if you do struggle with things. I think we all struggle. I know trees are not my not the best, but as I do them, as I try and include them in most of my paintings, like I said, most of my paintings are landscapes, and I don't know many landscapes without trees in, unless it's not a landscape if it's sea, is it? But yeah, if you like doing these landscapes, then follow me. just add in a few branches, twigs, that sort of thing. Bring you right back. And my friend Joe Menz has just posted. I just got the notification then. He's another one of these landscape artists, does a really good job, especially with the Hake brush. Check his channel out, Joe Menzerat, if you've not come across his channel before. He does these really nice paintings, and he does have a Facebook group as well, so check that out. It's Ron Ranson's Disciples. And a lot of his paintings he does like to use the Hake brush. So that's just a brush that you can use that doesn't allow you to do these messing with details, and that's what the brush is for. It just eliminates that. So if you don't want to mess about too much, if you fiddle, and if you don't have a Hake brush, you can always just use your biggest brush that you have, and that can help you with these messing about details, which sometimes can ruin things. It can detract from what you try to paint. But yeah. Okay, so I'm gonna change my brush again. I'm gonna grab this. You can see this mop brush. I do like these mop brushes, and I'm gonna add some darker tones. Excuse me. I'm gonna add some of the darker tones to this bit of foliage in the bottom of the scene. So there we go. We can go quite dark, especially when it comes to the edges of the painting. It does look nice when obviously I've got the tape to give me that fine edge, that clean edge, and so this really looks nice once you pull that tape and the big reveal. You get these really nice edges. So it is nice to go darker on these corners. And yeah, just having fun now, and I'm going off memory. Not even memory, I'm just making. I got the main subject down with pencil before I started, and now it's just a case of having fun, sort of filling in the blanks, and just having a good time, and just you mixing different greens and darks, and just going in and doing all these things. It really should be fun. I think when we're not having fun painting, then we're maybe trying too hard. So we need to be loose sometimes. It is good. It is good to be loose. Okay, I'm gonna switch now this smaller round brush, and I can't see what sort of round this is. I think it's a Da Vinci. Not sure, but I've lost the print on the handle. So just adding in these posts, fence post. And there's a little one there. I don't know where the rest are. I think they just swallowed up with the shrubbery surrounding. So just gonna leave that there. And I think now I can go ahead and add the trees that have melted away. I can just add a little bit of detail now, a bit more structure. Yeah. Let me know, by the way, if you can hear me okay. Sometimes these things you don't know until you've finished, and by then you've got a full video with no sound. So I don't want that to happen. But I don't know. I don't know whether it is or whether it isn't. But let me know in the comments section. And there we go. That's just a bit dark. Yep. I'm going to bring this down a little bit more. I kind of like that, the way it's sort of disappears. You can see that, the way the pigment sort of melts. I do like that. Let me just maybe add a few little details in that. Quite nice. And then I'll get some water and just touch in maybe a bit too much water. See, this is where the tissue would come in handy, but never mind. And there we go. Let me pop this. Okay. Now I can add a little bit of dark to this tree here. More of a bit of shrubbery in the foliage. Just all these sort of things that grow in the wild. Okay, wow, it is quiet today. Nobody commenting. But there we go. So I've definitely got some work to do now on the road. So I'm quite happy with the tone of the highlighted areas. So it's just basically the shadows from the trees coming across, which is always quite nice to do when it comes to these sort of paintings. So what I want for this is a slightly purple sort of mix. It's a really nice shadow mix. I'll show you that. So a little bit of the Pyro Red and a little bit of the French Ultramarine, and that's the colour I want. So let me just go in and add this. And there's plenty of little spots that are highlights. So the sun would be coming through the trees from the left hand side. And it's really quite nice when you get to this point. You want to join that, sort of get it right to the edge, because it would be a shadow starting from the sort of growth, and then you'll see that quite nice. Just a bit more water, and then just having these little areas. I think that does join. Yeah, so you got quite a lot of green, quite a lot of trees covering, so the shadows from those are going to cover a lot of the paper. And just going in there, dabbing bits. Just remember to leave those lighter areas where the sun's coming through. It's really important. Maybe a little bit darker on these bits. But I think that's it for this painting. Maybe let me just gonna grab a pen, a drawing pen. So what I do want to do, it's not on the reference, but I think it'll be quite nice to add a little bit of the wire that comes along these fences, this fence. So let me just add those. And I think that's done. Can call that finished. I'm happy to stop there. Please do let me know what you think. I really did enjoy this. This is from a walk that I had a few days ago, and quite a nice day. We've got quite a bit of sun and lots of shadows coming through from the trees, and I really did enjoy this one. Let me just remove the tape now. So this is the big reveal. I do like this, and it never grows old or I never grow tired of doing this, and it's just a nice way to see a painting. If you do want to get it framed, that sort of thing, then it gives you an idea what your painting is going to look like in a frame. But that's it for this one. I did try and keep things nice and loose, and it didn't take me that long really, so didn't want to fuss around too much with detail. Let me take this now off the... So yeah, let me know what you think. I do appreciate you being here. If you're watching this when it's been live, please do like, comment, let me know what you think. And that's it for this one. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.